Five, four, three, two, one. We are live. Hello and welcome to PropTechBuzz, a business podcast on global PropTech, where we talk to PropTech founders and CEOs from all over the world and learn from them how they build and manage successful PropTech companies. Today we have an exciting guest that I'm thrilled about. Is Ashish Kukreja. Ashish is the CEO of Home SFI and myMagnet.io, and he is very popular, especially in Indian subcontinent, because he built the first listed real estate brokerage, one of the very successful prop tech companies. And I've been coordinating with Ashish in the last several weeks, and he held to his patience, and he has been very kind. And the first interaction with him has been really kind from his side. So that is the one thing that I strikingly noticed about him. He just is back from his vacation and is committed to be on my podcast, and I cannot thank him enough. So, Ashish, welcome to PropTechBuzz. How are you doing today?
Very well, Ravi, and apologies for moving this once with you. And it's honor to be here and probably chit chatting with you on the very exciting space of PropTech in India. Yeah, thanks so much to have me here.
You're welcome. The privilege is mine, Ashish. So, Ashish, before we get down to talk about Home SFI and myMagnet, very curious to know about your journey, your career trajectory, your transition story towards building your own ventures. So, why don't you take us through that route?
Okay, it's a very pretty sort of a standard, nothing very sort of heroic in this. I started my career in 2004, and this is after my MBA in finance and from ICFI Hyderabad, and started to work with stockbroking called Kotak Securities, and had a great journey looking at new businesses getting built in front of me. Uh, Fortunately, these were the early days for the retail broking space in India, and that did help a lot. And then I ended up becoming a part of a startup which is in the same space, and then later on, uh, because of these two exposures, it sort of came naturally to start something on my own, and that happened in 2010, 11, and we started as a wealth management financial services business. Till really very recently, we are known as Craft Financial Advisors. That was the name of the company then, and 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 our idea at that point of time was, Ravi, to go to tier two and tier three towns, and take these products, wealth products, to smaller towns, because we knew the bigger banks will not travel to these cities. If I have to give you a few examples, and if you can resonate with some of the names, the Kolhapur, Dhule, Sangli, these are the smaller cities in Maharashtra, and that was our so-called disruptive idea, to sort of go to the smaller cities and reach the quality HNIs out there, and help them structure their portfolios. So, but that was a peak of global meltdown. The 2008 thing was still sort of on its on its prime, and people were not very keen. The smart investors were not very keen to invest in financial products. They were more keen on hard assets. Gold and real estate was something they were always asking for, and that's how real estate first time happened. We did have small exposure in terms of how it worked for the investors, but that's how it all started, and then one thing led to another, Ravi. It's a long story. It took sort of 6 months to even get hold of one customer, and we as a small team realized that there's a lot of common sense stuff which was missing out there. Which we believe that as a consumer, I definitely should get this information, should get this service, and that was the only problem we were solving. There was nothing, like I said, not a typical story where I would say that I came across this problem and I started solving this problem. And no, I realized that there's a common sense stuff. I repeat that. And probably that is something which sort of empowered us in a way to keep solving the problem of the consumer, And from probably 6-7 transactions in the first 6 months to probably one would say that now we are over 2,000 odd transactions in a year. So that's the journey, and like I said, that's a long story in between. Yes.
Right. So that transition story where people were more interested about hard products, you said real estate and gold. So what did you start offering to them? So did you start off giving them investment advice on what kind of hard products should they diversify their portfolio into, or what was the product that you were offering?
Interesting. So, they started. So, for example, this is about one typical consumer who was looking to buy a property in Mumbai, and so we were traveling to that location, and he had his relatives who have bought in that property, and he was wanting us to, have a, you know, he thought that we are smart people who have come from Bombay. We need to know what's happening in that region, in that property. So we said, why not? For us, it was more like an extension of a service. We never even thought that we will earn brokerage out of this, or whatever. We just thought that probably we are supposed to advise our customer on that property, and that's how it all started. So it was not like we were trying to push a product or probably advise a product. He himself gave a product to us and asked us
Hmm.
to do a research on it, and
Right.
that's how it all started. Yes.
But so the customer is away from the place where the product is, the real estate. Is
Yes.
that how it is? And how where
Yes.
did you? So when he said, so now who is acquiring who gets the product? Like who advertises the product? Is it from your end, or he is looking to buy a product and then he gets you in the mix?
So in that case, he was looking for it obviously, because that's how it started for us. And when we went out and we started exploring, and because we had to do a research, we had to spend some. We sort of followed a certain method so that we could advise him well. So while we were trying to follow that method, we realized the potential, right? It's like that's when it's uh, like I said, it's just fortunate to be in at right place at right time, so, and
Got
one
it.
thing leads to another. Yeah.
So what was attractive to you? Was it the brokerage fee that you felt that okay, this is the business which can give us a great returns in terms of brokerage. Let's close down all other channels. Let's focus only on real estate. Is that how it happened?
Yes, so it really happened like that. So, like I said, for us at that point of time, as a young company, small company, every single penny, coming in bank account was very, very precious, So, it's like, for us, when we realized that, and then, the next step was that we got involved in one of the launches which was which was a Pune development, and it was being shared with the Mumbai customers, and I realized that at that point of time, like again I repeat, how customers were not getting the basics, in
Hmm.
terms of like the information, the structure of the information, the method of the information, the
Right.
the way to reach out to them, and I realized that just 4 or 5 of us at that point of time we could do some very very good business. So if I have to give you a perspective, we were able to sort of transact close to 60, 70 odd properties, and eventually we had some 30, 40 odd properties which got retailed, and
Nice.
which obviously gave opened our eyes, right? We realized that and to the surprise of many people around in that room, which was active, uh, our our basic stuff was giving us these results,
Right.
so that's how probably the whole business model start evolving in our mind. It start sort of making place. It's not that we were the first one to do it. We already had players like Prop Tiger, who were active in this space and doing this stuff. But
Right.
still, we could see that if you're on the ground and if you are able to give the quality advice and timely service to the consumer, they will choose you against the other service provider. And that's
Right.
how we sort of started getting the initial traction. Yeah.
Got it. And how long have you been in this journey since the beginning? It's been how many years now?
So it's 2000, somewhere around 2013 when we got completely into properties in real estate. And from 2010 till 13, we were obviously in financial services and some bit in in also in property. But
Got it.
like you just said, we cut the cord in 2013, and it's almost now 10 years. Yes.
Got it. And are you the only? So why don't you talk about your journey of growth? That would be fascinating because the thing is, real estate brokerage is so local in nature. To grow at
Yeah.
scale and build a brand around it is hard, right? Because there are a lot
Yeah.
of players operating across India. I suppose you are
Yeah.
primarily in India today, right?
Yes. We
Yeah.
just opened Dubai office recently. Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
how do you build that scale and that reputation? Why don't you take us through different important stages of the growth all the way till you got yourself listed?
Yeah. So, as simple as it may sound, that, you have to keep doing common sense stuff. Probably the only thing was we were lucky that we could take right calls at right time. And, when you're at a situation when you don't have too much to lose, you sort of keep attempting and getting into, uh, uncharted territories. And, and fortunately, you keep getting results, and and you're a function of a great team, right? You're nothing without a great team. So I think all these pieces come together to make you lucky, as I said. It's like, Mumbai has always been a pretty strong market. Fundamentally, in my mind, real estate goes through cycles, but it is not the sector which will disappoint you if you keep doing smarter stuff, and keep adapting to the changing market. That's what we were doing at that point of time. With a smaller size, like I said, there was not too much to lose. Our initial investments in technology, building our CRM, try to recruit a certain kind of people, give them a certain culture, you know, uh, have a people first sort of a strategy policy, and then, building a good prowess in terms of digital marketing, which was a very early phenomena in those days. Now obviously it's nothing new, but in 2013-14, there were not too many adopters of digital marketing. And so, doing these things faster did give us that leg up, and opportunity to keep scaling up. And the good part of this business is that it keeps throwing cash back to you, and you keep investing it back, and scaling it up. So you keep on increasing your capacities, and there are some times when, you have some, and also you don't, coming from financial services background, we had a very risk averse sort of a mindset. So we never believed that we'll end up becoming a developer, or, we should start, doing some, wholesale transactions, taking bulk properties on our books, and then nothing of that sort. We knew that we all come from very simple middle class backgrounds. We cannot, take too much exposure on one. So we diversified ourselves into multiple projects, and, we did well in affordable housing. So, that's the space which was doing very well. Fast forward few years, this is something which we kept on doing, which I just mentioned. And fast forward few years, you again get lucky because what uh, events start playing out in the market in terms of there are demonetization, GST, NBFC crisis. We were all not sure that, the kind of organizational business we are building, will that be ever valued, in terms, because we knew that we are not a standalone broker. We knew that we will always keep investing in people, product, and platform. But at the same time, uh, will that be ever, because fortunately or unfortunately, most of the investors were away from this sector because couple of deaths which happened in the sector, and 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 we knew that, we will have to have patience. And fast forward these years, these events led to a lot of, a lot of structure came. The early days, but still a lot of structure came into the market, and, the confidence of consumer, and all this sort of helped us a lot to fast forward our journey. And COVID itself, though a very very bad event in a way, but came as a big support to us, because, post COVID. the way we handled that event, it sort of gave us a feeling that we're a strong company with strong set of people, and this is our time to respond. And I think that's how, from we were just probably 40% of our size a year before COVID, and that's how we took the chance, and we got the and markets really responded well. And like I said, in all this, the constant is a great team and consistent effort, and that's what we also believe now, Ravi. Post getting listed, one thing we remind ourselves, all of us, is that we have gone back to 2013 now. It's the day zero for us, and now we need to sort of build it back to a very different level. That's what we all wish for. Yeah.
Got it. So along the way, you mentioned PropTiger was one of the players at that time. Did you supersede some of the existing players? Like, did you overpower some of them? Because I do not know there are how many listed brokerages. Are you the only one, or are you the first one? What's the
We are the
status?
first one. We are the first one in the listed space, and I would say uh, I don't know, in a very typical way, your competition was not known to you, because it's like, you're competing with those mom and pop shop brokers as well in your early days, and some of the very, very highly funded companies which couldn't survive. And so overpowered is not the right word, but survived. We survived. Others
Hmm.
couldn't, probably. That's the only way I can put it across. For whatever reasons, we're not going there. That's a very deep discussion. But we could survive those few cycles,
Correct.
and yeah, that's about it. Probably now, as the sector gets structured, one can identify some bit of so-called value chain, the models, business models out there, or competition out there, but still, it's such a young uh, uh, sector, the whole transaction and brokerage space, with respect to what India is in this space. I still believe that the competition is still not very crystallized, but yes, now I can feel that now we have these multiple buckets of prop techs, and you have a pure transaction, you have a pure listing plus transaction, and new age stuff. Some of the prop techs we are trying to take a pie on the services side, and so on and so forth. So, but early days, I think we belong to a transaction space, we belong to a young brokerage space, and we belong to a space where we want to give Indian consumer a great brokerage service experience. I always wish to be a consumer brand. I always want to see this as a good consumer brand. And if I have to extend my answer, Ravi, again in a way that uh, you know, uh, India, like many other sectors, may probably leapfrog in this sector as well. We have always read about these examples in retail, or even fintech, and where we have leapfrogged, as compared to the mature economies and the markets. I think that's going to happen into the brokerage space of India. I think we will leapfrog. We may just cover up few years very fast. This is backed by a lot of tech, which can come, and now that market is becoming more and more mature and structured. So I think that's what we also believe is a great opportunity ahead of us.
Got it. So I was talking to Tanuj from Square Yards, and he
Yeah,
also mentioned how hard it is to make it successful in transactions and brokerage.
yeah.
And you mentioned about some of them that are funded, closed down. What is the difference between somebody who is successful in this industry versus not? Because everybody says there's massive opportunity there, but not everybody is able to succeed. So, what does it take to succeed in this industry? I mean, you were, I mean, you're being quite humble about your achievements, that you stuck to your fundamentals and to your team and the tech and the experience and the consumer experience and stuff like that. But could you dig a little deeper on what does it take to succeed in this business?
I'm disappointed you. My answer would not change. The reason being, see, it's a sector wherein probably uh, I was just talking to someone yesterday also, one of the another veterans in the market in an event. I was talking to him, I was saying, it's like, it's the common kitchen. We all are working in the same kitchen. It's like we all have the same oven, same raw material, and same knife to cut and all that. It's what we produce out of it. It's like वही kitchen है तो from that kitchen you get not a very tasty food, but then there's another person who creates a great food out of that kitchen. Uh, so we still believe we have not created that great food out there, which is like we still have to get that get to that level. But yes, we probably have created a food which people would like to consume, rather than
Okay.
creating a food which people would not like. The same kitchen, right? Like you just said, what's with the other place? It's a people business. It's a services business. It's a very highly people-driven business. You have to understand what you offer to which stakeholder at what price. It's a balance between your what you offer to the developers, what you offer to your people, what you offer to your consumer. How do you balance? And now for us, there's a fourth element, investors. So, how do you sort of balance between these four people, and how do you make sure that nobody gets extra out there? At the same time, or nobody gets inferior from us. Everybody should get the right service at the right time. So, and at the same time, Ravi, I would say that you have to keep changing with the changing consumer, and you need to adopt to whatever smarter stuff you can implement in the whole process, right? So that's where the differentiator is. And I still believe that we have long way to go before we see that we are best on the people front, we are best on the tech front, we are best on the process front. So, but we are very, very hopeful that the opportunity is huge, the underline is great, and if we put our minds to it, we can definitely crack it.
Who would you imagine to be your peers, contemporaries, who are in a similar size as yours in India today?
So there are many actually, so there are regional players, and like I said, it's a very difficult comparison, or rather asking for at this point of time. I think if you ask this question to me after 2 years, there will be very, very clear sort of compartments and buckets out there in India. But
Why
right now,
why why two
because
years?
see,
What
some
will
of,
happen? Consolidation?
yeah, because see, uh, absolutely. Consolidation, tech adoption, regulator actions, a lot of stuff happening. I think it's changing very fast. I have never experienced the volume and the speed of the change in my first half of building this company, and if I call this second half post COVID, the amount of change is huge. Uh, and right now in the whole value chain, you will have players who are doing mandate projects and not doing consumer stuff. At the same time, there are some players who are doing only having a consumer front, which is purely B2C, and they're different. And so, and we sort of in a way compete with almost everyone out there in one way or another, right? So if I have to take few names, you have you have great companies or big companies like Analogs, which have been built over a period of time. Tanuj has done a great job with Square Yards. So these are some of the companies. There are a couple of other mandate companies like Guardian. On the retail side, we are there. Probably Pistol is there. There are other companies. So, but I could still tell you that that space is so not so structured still that we can say that I'm competing with X or Y. We are in our own uh, in our zones, and we are trying to make sense of the huge market which is out there. The size of the market is so big. None of us is more than even a 1% of the of a sizable opportunity in a given sector, in a given region, in a given market.
Hmm.
So it's very difficult to say, we are competing, unless one of us becomes 8-10% to start with, we
Hmm.
can't even talk about this competition out there.
So in that case, there is. So I was also talking to Ashish from Property Pistol. He also said the
Yeah,
same thing, that there is massive potential,
yeah,
and you need not fear about competition, because there is so much in the offering that everybody can
yeah.
survive if they are
I,
sticking
I
to it.
completely resonate. I completely resonate
Hmm.
with this statement. Yes.
And you said massive changes happening post COVID. What are those changes? Where is the dynamics changing for you to stay relevant?
Yeah, so I think the need for the brokerage services is something which has obviously evolved, and the whole debate of markets, sector will be able to, I have been part of many global conferences as well, and the whole mindset ki broker to, broker will not be there in the market, and there will be. I think that debate is back, just like behind us now. We all know that transactions and and consumer needs, they demand high quality service, and they would like to only pay when they get service right. So I think that's something which is really got sort of, it's sort of, the acceptance is increased. At the same time, in the, like I said, on risk of being dependent in the value chain, the way developers now need uh, you know the marketing and sales services, the need has become larger, market is becoming larger, and consolidation has its own impact. Similarly, tech adoption throughout the value chain has how smartly you deal with your agents, how smartly you deal with your partners, and everything is sort of now being handled through adopting or probably trying to customize the available tech around, and make it work for you. Uh, and I would say that and at the same time, market is slowly getting structured, because RERA is now started to show some, they have RERA is obviously a regulatory body in India, and in different states is now addressing brokers as well, which is very important. Unless brokers are such an important part of the whole system, unless you don't pay focus on them, your work will not be done. So I think that has started recently. So we believe these are very strong changes to begin with, and then you have to bring change. I would say, not wait for it.
Got it. So why don't we talk a little bit about what does your experience? So Home SFI is the brokerage firm, right?
That's right. Homesfy, yeah.
So what is the Home SFI experience like? What is the brokerage experience for Home SFI?
So yeah, it's pretty much straightforward. We would call us as young brokerage, which understands the need of today's buyer, and the kind of information and service levels they expect is what we would always focus on through various sort of channels, and so I believe that a happy consumer is a function of a very well established agent, or let's say a happy agent. A happy consumer is a function of a happy agent. So I think our first consumer is our agent. How do we sort of empower them, grow them, take them from one level to another? It's like build institutions around them. So I think that's the way we want to bring quality to the ecosystem, and our expectation from our agent is that if you're not able to service consumer right, then this is not the right platform for you, and we can't work with you. So I think that's the path we are trying to sort of establish. And at the same time, we believe that going ahead, data can be a big differentiator. As you sort of use data to your benefit. I will not go to the debate of AI, ML, and stuff. My whole point here is that it is such an early stage in India, that how you use data and present it to the stakeholder, and sort of help them to take right and faster and correct decisions, right? So I think that's also one big journey as a brokerage we are planning to take, and we are already working on it. So I think pretty much very simple, straightforward. Brokerage is all about quality agents leading to quality happy consumers, and also enabling and empowering these two stakeholders.
Got it. And you're primarily in the primary market, no? You work
That's
with
right.
developers and help. Okay. And there's massive opportunity in primary market, especially in India and Middle East and stuff like that.
That's right.
What's the role of technology play in your business? Do you see technology playing a big role? You mentioned AI ML could play a role, and data could play a role. But today, you mentioned also about your CRMs. But does technology enable it, or can it disrupt one brokerage firm from another with the help of technology?
Never say never. It's like it's definitely possible to disrupt the space if you could. Yeah, but I believe that I don't see that one of the players can, unless you start giving some extra. Like I said, if you try to imbalance, by giving it extra to somebody and you call it disruptive,
Right.
then though it's not a debate, right? If you start, let's say, if you start to offer services to a developer at 0.5%, then we all know that even your electricity cost will not go with 0.5%. So I can't call it disruptive. You can give it a window of disruption or whatever, or you sort of and there are a lot of other stuff also. A lot of unethical things happen. All that is, I can't call that disruption out there. If you have to do a good value-based, ethical, long-term, institutional business. You want to build a great brand. You want to build a great institution. And then let's come to the disruption topic. Then I believe yes, tech has a lot of role. With each and every step of our business. How you source right properties, how you sort of give the information to your agents, your consumers, the quality of information. How faster your process is in terms of transaction and post-transaction stuff. I know it sounds very straightforward, but each of these steps have further 10 steps out there. And
Mm.
if those further 10 steps can be reduced or can be done faster or can be done smartly or can be done efficiently, that's the tech you need. That's the whole transaction piece all about. So yeah, I may not be able to probably speak in length about it, but yes, we see it like that, and we are going into different spaces and corners to understand how do we are piloting a lot of things to understand how do we sort of you know uh, create an efficient process out of this business model. Yeah.
You mentioned about branding. So branding for brokerage is important for the developers, but you also mentioned that you want to be a consumer-facing company as well, or the consumers are also they are also aware of the brokerage brands. I just wanted to understand from both sides. Like, our consumer,
Yeah.
because consumers usually buy one or two houses
Yeah.
or apartments in their lifetime, right?
Yeah.
For them,
Yeah.
how important it is for the brokerage brand to associate with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Very early days, consumers, I would say, if I have to stick my neck out and say no, they don't know about too many brokerage brands who are giving quality services out there. Uh, yes, but almost 30, 40 odd percent business happens through references. It happens through So I believe those promoters out there are our first sort of brand ambassadors, who are probably giving us references, and that's happening because we are trying to give quality. These are early days, but as we go further, as like I said, other forces start playing out, which is RERA, which is tech, which is how do you sort of start offering so the moment you get into secondary space, and how do you sort of make your presence felt across the key markets. Brands will start to get their presence felt, and we've already started working in that direction, and I believe it's inevitable. I think it's matter of probably few years or maybe less than few years when you will have consumers resonate with few brokerage brands. And it's like I always give this, from 2013 till now, uh, every new batch which joins us, I give them this simple example. I tell them that, when you order pizza, you know, uh, you have only three names which come to your mind. The typical Indian consumer will think about Pizza Hut, Domino's, or probably Pizza Express or whatever, a couple of other names. When a consumer thinks about letting property out or taking it on a rent or buying or selling, they just can't think of a brand. They can think of a sort of a broker who's in the building, or they will dial or they will put a lead in one of the portals, and you will get those 1,000 calls in 2 days. You can't think of a brand. You pick up a phone and you say, which is the nearest Homesfy office? I think that's the biggest opportunity. I think that's where we are uh, we are very excited about.
Got it. Since this is a business podcast and other entrepreneurs also listen to this podcast, could you shed some light from your 10-year, a decade-long journey? what has been your biggest growth lessons, business growth lessons? I think what you already mentioned is pure play customer service. Okay, being true to your customers. What else would you imagine has been your growth story as lessons to other entrepreneurs?
I think it will be very boring, right? And then at the end of the day, the answers are very very common. It's how you sort of and from someone who still has a lot to do, and I'm still learning. It's not a probably, but I think I would say one should have a lot of patience. It's very important to be persistent. We read about it, but we need to ask ourselves: are we persistent? And at the same time, you have to be very people driven. You I think one learning is that you can't build a great business without a great team. So you need to work a lot on building great teams, and at the same time, I think you should not stop learning. You should, the day you feel that you've arrived, I think that's when the downfall starts. So it's in a dynamic market, in a India market like India. Forget about any sector or market. India is in itself a great place to be in at this point of time, and at this point of time, you just have to keep learning, and don't afraid to make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes, but it's fine. You need to take your chances out there, and yeah, I think that's about it. And have a great value system. The moment you start compromising on values, then it's very difficult to fill those gaps and fill those leakages in the future, and they haunt you if you don't do it.
This is an important one, value system. How do you define, because value system is such a vague thing. If you do not concretize it and people are not living those value system, it does not serve the purpose, right? So could you shed some light on, because especially real estate, especially what's happening in India, you see these notorious news coming up every day, and then there are some who are really doing great, and when you go dig deeper, it's actually a lack of value system, isn't it? So could you shed some light on, when you were building this organization, how did you build a robust value system so that the leadership or entire organization lives and breathes through it?
So it's a journey. It's never a one point thing, right? It's like it's just that internally as a leadership team, or as let's say key 40, 30, 40, 50 people out there in the company. There are many people who are more than 9 years, 7 years, 5 years, who have given confidence to this institution, and though I'm representing these 500 people out there in this office, and they are they can answer the same stuff which I've answered today. It's just that I'm standing on behalf of them right now, or probably talking to you on behalf of them. So at least I can say on behalf of those 40, 50 people who have shown a lot of confidence in the company, and are responsible for us to reach at this point. All of us are, we don't talk about value system. It's obvious to us. We will not sell wrong product to the consumer. It's the biggest problem. I don't want to probably go in details here, but you end up pitching products to the consumer because you get higher revenues. We have never done it. We've never done it ever in our 10 years of existence. If we know it's a wrong product, it's a wrong product. We keep, it's like you don't talk about it every day at lunch that, हमारा ये value system. It's about, if I can't sell this to my brother or my sister, I can't sell it to my consumer. It's as simple as this. So we live by it. And at the same point of time, you know, uh, we are
and,
very
and
high on communication.
and those people who sell wrong products, because they are short sighted, they are looking at immediate gains. But if you are patient and you're long term, then you would not resort to such short term gains, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's to everyone, right? Does that you have to look inside and see when you look back what you have built,
Got
and if it doesn't give you the good feeling, then what's the point?
Got it. What's your personal leadership style? Because I will tell you why. Because you stood out in a lot of ways. When I approached other founders, they were not as approachable. But you gave me a call back. You apologized for not being able to make it. I saw a lot of humility. So that stood out. Okay, I also mentioned it in my intro today. So other than that, what has been your leadership strengths that you think has worked for you to grow this organization?
I think the biggest factor is being lucky to be there at right place at right time. Working with exciting people, constant learning. I would not stop myself and tell people read a lot. Reading helps you because it keeps you start connecting with what's happening in your life, and then when you read something, and then you start connecting the dots. So I would say that if you want to be leader out there, you should be always on some education, some learning, which never stops. uh, yeah, I think that's about it. It's pretty straightforward stuff, and like I said, I'm still learning. So I would not like to answer it right now, Ravi, to you. I think let me give a few more years to building this institution, and probably I'll be at the right place to give you a good answer.
Got it. Yeah. So you said there is so much more to achieve. Where do you see Home SFI? I'm not yet come to myMagnet. I will have that
Sure,
for the later part.
sure,
But Home
sure.
Home SFI, where do you see this moving from here on?
So, like I said, it's a consumer brand which we are dreaming, and we believe that uh, it's like can it become a household name, wherein people do sort of think about it when they think about property transaction and property services, and they feel very good about it, and they're very confident and very, very sure about the quality of service they will get. That's how I sort of aspire that kind of level if we can achieve. And can it be a very happy space, prospering space for every stakeholder to grow, and we can probably create a great value on the way for everybody involved, whether it is people who work for the consumers, for the agents, for our partners, and for everybody. So and I think like I said, it's a huge market out there, and if we can be one of the, I don't think it's going to be one player market. India can never be, and at least in my lifetime, I know that there will be good quality 5-10 brokerages who will be doing good stuff. And I think if we can be one of them, and probably always leading from front, I think that's when I think my job will be done. Yeah.
So you said 510 today. You mentioned in this interview around three, four of them. So there is still space
No,
for.
no, no, there are so many of them. It's just that like I
No,
said, I'm
how many?
fortunate to get this sort of exposure or whatever. There are a
Got it.
lot of them who are doing good quality stuff. They may operate in smaller markets, they may have a lot lesser scale, but I have a huge respect for this trade. Fundamentally, though it is a trade which everybody thinks not very high about, in a lot of regions, but I think good quality advisors, agents add so much value
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the biggest decision you take in your life. And I deal with that fact. I start my day with this fact that we have to enable these guys. Or we have to create more such people.
Hmm.
India needs more such quality advisors to take, to reduce that burden from the back of the consumer. And I think there is a huge opportunity out there. So there are so many of them. It's just that we've been able to scale, and we've been able to, like I said, we've been able to come together, stick together with each other, and build a franchise on the way.
Right.
So, but once the sector gets consolidated, when you have some of these players who are able to create this ecosystem, and is able to spread them through the length and breadth of this country, I don't see probably more than 5-10 of them. I'm just giving a ballpark number.
Right. But have you seen any consolidation at all? Like, have you seen mergers in different regions? Because there are some local players who are doing good business. Have you already seen, or that is not required, or that's not happening? Could you help me understand if that
I
is?
think there are a few of them. Like-minded people will come together. It's like, for example, if there's a certain way we want to build that franchise, we want to build this ecosystem. So people who resonate with them, with that process and with that aspiration, will like to be part of. We recently joined hand with another brokerage. and we are a great friends at work right now. So it's not like acquiring a business, like getting in
Joining
more
it.
and more partners out there, and yeah, and I think it's pretty much visible in some of the I would say developed markets, out Western developed markets in brokerage space, where you've seen a lot of like-minded brokerages coming together and building a great offer. So I think that way, I think it's early days, but yes, I think in next 2-3 days you will see a lot of consolidation on the brokerage side as well.
I forgot to ask you. So, do you have dedicated brokers, or do you also have partners on the ground?
We have dedicated both. Our partners on the ground is through Magnet, and through Homesfy we have dedicated brokers.
Got it. So, since you mentioned about myMagnet, let's talk a bit about that. What is myMagnet into?
So the myMagnet has its own story. We at the peak of COVID, when just the lockdown got announced, and just couple of weeks into it, maybe a week or more than I was talking to a lot of friends across other countries, and and I could get a lot of good inputs from them in terms of these are the people from the brokerage business, and how they are sort of handling it, and what are they talking to their agents and stuff like that. And I somehow felt that a lot of mom and pop shop brokers in India are not aware of this stuff. What should be the pecking order? How do they should how they should plan to manage COVID now? In terms of the cost, in terms of these. So I said, while let's call let's try to get some brokers together, and let's do this call with. And when we did this call, there were like I think 30, 40 odd brokers, and they all were so excited, because before that call they had completely lost hope. Because of every other sector, real estate was one sector which people thought it's like done, because and how will they now survive? It's like that. And when I told them, ESA cost, that's how you need to take care of your cost. That's how you need to take care of it. How they should start dealing with consumers and so on and so forth. So that's when we realized that some of these good quality agents need uh, a sort of a hand holding, or they need to come together, and then we need to sort of work on their strength, and sort of provide them a right platform. And that platform can involve them transaction support, training support, tech support. You know, these are the three T's we talk about. So that's how the magnet start shaping up. We said that this is a huge opportunity to sort of whatever we are learning on the way as a I would say as a good brokerage. Let's take it to other people. It's like about giving it out there, and then scaling it up. If you give it out there, scale it up. You may want to make a small pie out of it. So I think that's what Magnet is all about. If I was able to answer you, and it's all tech led, it's all training driven, and we've been able to get good success. And now we are going into Magnet 2.0, scaling it up to next level, expanding into other cities, getting into more products out there, and also spreading our wings. Yeah.
No, I'm still trying to understand the business logic here. So you have your dedicated brokers, and then you see a lot of brokers who are disempowered, who do not have the right tools to survive,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you are empowering them, and you're bringing them under your umbrella. Are
Yeah.
they dedicatedly working for you, or are they also working for your competitors? Like, so what's the business logic here? The business logic is to have more brokers on the ground, okay, by helping them out. Am I right?
Yeah,
Is that
that's right. That's right. So that's right. Absolutely. So right now, it's not dedicated stuff. Where there are no certain rules regulator has kept in Indian markets, where you have to get licensed with a certain broker for a certain period, and then so on and so forth. So yeah, there's no dedicated piece. But then yes, if you take one broker from one level to another, you expect a certain stickiness, and we have been observing that stickiness. It's like,
what, what do you mean by
it's
level? What do you mean by one
it's
level
like
to another?
it's in terms of the size of the business they do, right? In terms of the way they do it, that's the level, right? You do one transaction a month, or you end up doing two. You have leveled up, So it's as simple as that, and it's a high ticket size business. So going from one to two is a big deal. Let's say, for sake of argument. So I think one would aspire to take them from 1 to 20. If we can. So that's the way we look at it, and I think easier said than done. It's just that you will have to have a very long-term vision around it, and you need to trust people, back people, and on the way, we have to keep making things more and more efficient and smarter for them.
Got it. So thank you for sharing that. I'm trying to understand, curious about the developers. Okay, what kind of dynamics do developers have when they partner with brokerage firms like you? Do they partner with multiple brokerage firms? Do they also partner with big ones and the small ones, as you said, the mom and pop store ones, or do they have high bar and quality on who do they partner with? Because for them, anybody who gets business is good, right? Or do they actually filter between the good ones and the bad, not so good ones?
At this point of time, wherever they get service at a right cost, they will go and partner with them. It's not like that they do have, obviously, it's about their maths. If they are able to do more business at a certain cost with a certain player, they would like to work more with them. But at the same time, they would do it with their maths. It's like that. So there is no preference as such, or in the ecosystem, yes, sometimes they want to do a sort of a wholesale transaction. Some markets like Delhi and where, there are brokers who pick up the inventory at a discounted price and then do it. We don't do it. So, that's another model out there. So you can call it as a preferred sort of a play. And, so there's an inventory which is marketed at 100 rupees and a broker picks it up at 80. And, and this 20 rupees is what, they give it to other brokers or whatever. So that happens in many markets. We have never done that business or never taken any inventory on our books or whatever. So at the same time, there are builders who may have some legacy of working with some uh, old brokers. They may not be a very sizable builders as also. They have just this thing going between them. But now it's very spread, and I would say that larger brokerages are getting larger, becoming larger, because you are adding more and more value on the way to every stakeholder, as they say. So yes, one of the stakeholder is developer, and if we are able to offer speed and quality to them, quality in terms of the way we position their product, the way we market it to them, to the consumer, and the speed we give it to them, I think they value it. So that way they are okay to pay a certain price. So that's about it. It's like any other business model. If anybody gives them a right service at the right cost, they take it.
Got it. No, that is exactly what I wanted to know. I wanted to know how can you protect your margins or without discounting yourself to the
Yeah.
developers? Does having quality give you any advantage? Okay,
Yes,
and
it does.
you answered yes. If it is high quality, high speed, then you do not have to give away or you discount
Yes,
yourself. Okay, got
absolutely.
it. I forgot also to ask you about your fundraising story. So you went public, definitely. So, but before that, did you in your journey did you have to raise funds along the way?
Yeah, we had a couple of angel rounds, and after that, it's completely sort of a very strongly bootstrapped and very minimalistically sort of done angel, and those angels got their exits at the right time, and then yes, we were fortunate enough to get like-minded investors pre-IPO, and
Hmm.
they had long-term vision on the sector and the country and us, and so that's how we took this call to institutionalize ourselves.
Got it. And since I've never interacted with any CEO who's a listed CEO, we always talk about the growth all the way to public, right? Post public, post public, what happens we never know. So where are you listed, by the way?
When we
Where
got
are
listed, yes.
where are you listed?
NSE emerged. That's a SME stock exchange. Yeah.
It's an SME stock exchange. Okay, and what kind
Yes.
of stocks do they list? When you say SME, what's the? I mean, how is it different from any other?
Oh, yeah, so size is different. You obviously you have to be of a different size when you're on a main board. You the terms to get listed on SMEs are obviously lesser, but yeah, everything else remains same. Yeah, and you have to go through the complete due diligence process, and getting listed itself is it's a different ball game. The moment you're with the public, nothing changes between Tata and us in terms of the way, I would say, the way we are, studied and evaluated by exchanges before they allow us to get listed like that.
Right.
So
So
yeah, I think that
you have an
yeah,
index, you have a ticker symbol. There is an SME
yeah,
index, I suppose. Okay, got it. Uh,
yes, yes.
so what happens? So usually we all talk about a company went public, but what happens after a company goes public? What does it still have a growth trajectory? Do you still have your what happens after that? Maybe a very
No, no.
very
So
dumb and
that's the
common.
difference. Absolutely, absolutely. It's a very mature investor these days. So we have got investors who have believed in our story for long term, and this is growth capital. This is not the only fundraise we're going to have. I'm sure. Over a period of time we will do more fundraise, but obviously it will be on this platform, and the journey is just started, Ravi. It's not even, it was just one event in between. That's about it. If we would have got some VC fund similar to, it's just that we are now more out in public. We are more institutional in nature. We are more, that's what we actually wanted, because we don't want to build, so-called promoter-driven company or whatever. We just wanted to build over a period of time a great institution, and that's our first step towards it. So that we are that's how we think about it. There's a lot of debate around these things. Some people believe it's too much of restriction on you and too much of eyes on you, and at the same time, I believe that's what we want. We want to make sure that if we are really serious about building an institution, and we are seriously serious about sharing the value with all the stakeholders, this is the time, because this is when we will have to go for our kill, in a way. So this is probably one of the important labs this company will run for next few years. So be it. So, and we are happy. And it's already 2 quarters. We are happy that we are getting more and more structured, more and more organized, more and more. So this is empowering us. I have this opinion. This is empowering us to think straight and think well on behalf of many stakeholders.
Got it. Just last couple of questions. How do you see this entire industry shaping, especially in India? Where do you see the next few years? You mentioned about consolidation. What else do you see from here on in the next 3-4 years?
Multifold growth. I think I'm completely sold into what's India into for next 5-10 years. 10 years I would say, and there's no there's no looking back. Just that, keeping those black swans away. And India does well. Real estate sector has to do well. There are many data points out there. I don't have to repeat them for you, but I believe that the sector has a potential to grow multifold, and you have two engines to work on. You can be a great brand. Like, I'll repeat that. And you have tech. If you could sort of marry the two well, you one can create a great opportunity out there.
Got it. Just curious about your competitors. Do you get do the CEOs and the founders, do they get to meet offline sometimes, learning from each other or brainstorming? Are there opportunities?
Yeah, we do meet each other, and we all have a huge respect for each other, because whoever has survived this decade and is here and building the business, we all know that they are the great people, and they are and we all learn from each other, right? It's like I said, it's the same kitchen. We are cooking our own recipes, and sort of offering to our stakeholders. So I think, yes, we taste each other's recipe and praise it.
Excellent. Well, we are dot on time. This brings us to the end of a very, very thought-provoking conversation with Ashish. Ashish, all the waiting and patience actually paid off with this conversation finally. Thank you for your
Sure.
time and sharing with us your wealth of knowledge and wisdom.
Pleasure. Absolutely, Ravi. You're doing a great job, and I wish you all the luck in this
Thank you.
journey. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ashish. See you around. Bye bye.
Bye.